Hello and welcome back to the Now We Know Show, the show where we discuss a topic of interest and by the end we will have learned something new and hopefully you will too. I'm Zach.
I'm Buzz.
And I'm Tina.
First, welcoming back Tina, in today's episode we will kick off as always with Word of the Week, leading into our main segment all about the subject which is close to Tina's heart, which is all about cats. We will then round up with the answer to Word of the Week at the end of the episode. If you enjoy the Now We Know Show podcast, why not support Zak Wylde Productions on our Patreon page? Become an official ZWP patron for as little as £1 a month for exclusive early access to all our latest episodes, videos, behind the scenes, updates and more.
Here we are again, and in this episode we've got Tina in the studio. Hi Tina, welcome,
Hello, everybody.
welcome back. This is your second foray into the dungeon
Well, actually,
studio.
third if you're counting the
of
Cider
course.
Festival.
The Cider
Oh,
Festival.
yes.
So it was Cider Festival, yeah, I forgot about that. You enjoyed that one, didn't you?
I did indeed.
You like a bit of cider?
Yes, and there were some rather nice sausages, if I remember rightly.
You like a sausage too? There
And
you
just before Christmas we had the Christmas
go.
carols.
Christmas carols, yeah.
Yes, we did
You haven't
indeed.
listened to that? Go and listen to the Christmas carols just to hear Tina's dulcet tones.
So this week we're talking all about cats.
Yeah,
We
so
are
we're gonna-
indeed.
But before we discover
All
all
about
cats,
Your fascination with cats.
yes, I think you've got a certain weekly
Shenanigan.
shenanigan to pose to us.
So that brings us on to Word of the Week.
Yay!
Word of the Week.
Word of the week.
Word of the Week. Word of the Week.
You
Word
join
of the
in, Taylor.
Week. Word of the Week. Word of the Week.
Word of the week.
Don't
Word
worry.
of the week.
Don't worry, it'll come.
Word of the week.
It'll come with practice.
Yeah, we try and get the guests to join in.
Okay, Word of the Week is all about old English words we don't use anymore. All you have to do is write down what you think it means in the comments. We will then reveal what it means at the end of the episode so you can find out if you got it right.
Okay.
So, the word of the week this week is snotor.
Snotall. Is that snot all or
Snotor, spelt S.
snot or?
Snotor,
Snotall.
spelt S-N-O-T-T-O-R. Snotor.
Snot or. Snot or.
Snotor.
Oh dear.
Bit of a weird one, this one.
Yeah, sounds like a sticky oar stuck in your rollock on your rowing boat.
It's funny you
I've got a
say
bit of a
that.
snot oar here.
It's funny you should say that because I was thinking of something to do with a boat, but I just don't know
well,
what.
well,
Oh,
keep your theories to yourself. We'll find out at the end of the
Find out
episode.
at the end. Okay, so straight into the episode now. All about
Cats.
cats.
Yay.
Now, cats
Meow.
are... Very good.
That was one in the studio.
Cats are very close to your heart, Tina, aren't they?
They are indeed.
Now, what would you like to tell us about cats?
Well, I've had cats for many, many, many years.
How many years?
Yes.
Ooh, well, I've had them since I was a child, or not personally, they were my parents' cats. but
Family cats.
Family cats. And I guess I particularly like muggies.
So they've
over-
always been a part of your life.
For most of it, yes.
Have you had dogs as well?
Yes, I've had dogs as well.
So what can I ask right at the beginning? What's the separate? What's the difference between dogs and cats for you? You know, do you favour cats more to dogs? You know, what is it about a cat that appeals to you more than dogs, or are they just different?
I think they're different. I particularly like cats. I think it's probably because dogs are absolutely friendly with everybody.
Oh, dogs, unconditional love from day one.
But we're not here to talk about dogs.
Not talking about dogs
We're
tonight.
talking about cats.
So I want to know about cats. Yes.
But cats communicate with you and they have their own relationship with you. They choose to be your buddy, if you like.
So how do they do that?
Well, they talk to you, which I particularly like.
And they kind of like cat overlords that sort of like see you as their slave and feeding machine.
That's kind of the comical
Yeah,
kind
that's
of
what
presentation.
It's sort of like always led to the dogs are sort of like, oh wow, it's a stick. Wow, fun. Oh, it's a ball. Yeah, walkies. Yay. And the cats are okay.
You always see
What is
loads
this
of
human doing
on
today?
social media. You always see these memes and things about cats,
Yes.
and they're like scheming to murder you and things.
So
I mean, you've even got a T-shirt that's got a cat with a knife on it, haven't you?
yes.
Well, that's because you bought it for me.
That is true. That is true.
Okay, but you say they communicate to you. So how does a cat communicate to a human then?
Well, it rubs itself against your legs.
Sorry.
Not look, Jack's not here today. Okay, so stop that. Stop it straight away. Right. So cats,
They purr, obviously.
Okay. Now I've heard that cats don't purr in the wild. Is that true or?
I think the thing is this. I am of the understanding that purring has become a learned behaviour
What, for domesticated
for
cats?
domesticated cats. And perhaps feral cats don't purr, as I understand
Okay, so
it.
we're talking domesticated cats that are feral and not actual wild cats.
Well, no,
'Cause there's a difference between
a
the-
domesticated cat may not necessarily be feral. For example, if you've
No.
got cats that say born
s-
in
I-
a farm
yeah,
or in the wild, in the bushes or something.
I suppose what I mean is if you've got a cat, when we talk domesticated, say a tabby cat, that tabby cat can be domesticated because it lives in your house, or it could be born as a wild farm cat, yeah?
Mhm.
But it's a domestic cat. Its origins aren't that it is a particular wild cat, like a Scottish wild cat or a lynx or something. So it's the same cat that would be living in your house. So is it just because a cat lives in your house that it purrs, but the same cat outside your house that hasn't had human contact wouldn't purr?
Correct.
Right. But wild cat, as in any wild species of cat, do they purr?
I don't know about
Because often when you watch
lions
David
and tigers
Attenborough
and
things,
things like
they
that.
always put the Foley sound of the cat licking its lips after doing a kill, and it's going, and then it's purr. I don't want to purr like a cat. Anyways,
It's a bit weird in this confined space.
I kind of wonder if the Foley sounds they put on wild cats is actually,
It's probably made by just normal cats.
I think a lot of your wild cats in lions and tigers and
Yep.
things like that, I don't know what sounds they do or do not make, but certainly their mannerisms may have tremendous similarities between domestic cats.
Okay.
Today I'm talking probably more about domesticated cats. However, let's clarify here, we have domesticated cats, by which I mean a cat that lives in your house.
Mm-hmm.
You might have a stray cat,
Yep.
which would be a cat that probably lived in somebody's house at some point,
Mm-hmm.
and perhaps being a stray cat is perhaps a little bit dishevelled.
So it has had some human interaction.
Yes, at some point. And then you have, say, feral cats.
Yeah. Completely wild cats. that
Completely
have
wild
been-
cats,
been
never
born-
been in the house.
Been born, had nothing to do with humans at all.
So they, just like
wild cat.
a
They do their own
rabbit,
thing.
a ferret, or anything like that. They exist
Yep.
in the wild. Sometimes some of those feral cats may have some interaction with people because they're a convenient food source, perhaps, ones that may be a farm, perhaps.
You immediately bring me back to a childhood memory of there was an industrial estate. I lived on the edge of town near to an industrial estate, and we would hop, skip and a jump to the countryside. There was a wood I used to frequent as kids. We used to go up there, make rope swings, camps, etc. And there was, back in the day, quite a large wild cat population there that I don't know how long it had been there, but they were always there, these cats, but they never got near you. They'd run.
Mm-hmm.
There was one old lady that used to go and take cat food and feed the cats. She was the only person I ever saw that actually the cats got near to.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I think a lot of those wildcat populations have basically gone and completely gone or very much diminished, because didn't the RSPCA bring in a neutering, catch them and neuter them?
I believe it was capture, neuter, release.
And then they just died out naturally because they couldn't breed anymore.
I guess so. I mean,
I suppose.
feral cats are obviously used to
Yeah, I mean,
being outside.
you're going to get feral cat colonies on farms, etc.
Yes, especially on farms. Yeah.
Far-
You get a
farmers-
domestic rabbit and a wild rabbit.
Yeah, farmers do tend to have cats. We know that from friends that we have that have cats that basically they do a job on the farm.
Yes.
They don't come into the house.
No,
They're not domestic cats.
they're
But-
chief mouses and
Yeah,
ratters
they get
and
rid of the
things
rats
like that,
and the vermin.
and other vermin.
Yeah.
So there are differences, and you can often find, for example, that a feral cat, obviously it kind of shies away from human interaction usually, but it is often in very good healthy looking order because it is accustomed to looking after itself.
I think cats probably fend far better as singular entities. Would I be right in saying that, Tina? That a cat can look after itself I mean, because cats, I believe when they're feral, they'll eat anything from frogs, insects, obviously small rodents, anything they can catch. But they do tend to have that you see them grooming themselves. They look after themselves far better than, say, if you had a stray dog, because dogs are a pack animal, and that's when you see dogs, much like I suppose foxes and things, when they've picked up mange and such like that.
And cats and dogs can catch mange as well. I think the thing
I always think cats seem to be an animal that seems to be able to fend for itself far better if it's out there in the wild. Because in the UK,
it catches things.
In the UK, unlike if you go off to Spain and places, I've been on holiday in Spain where you see wild dogs roaming around which have been just strays. We don't really get that in the UK these days. They're picked up very quickly, But cats, yes, cats.
Well, I think you can often have a situation where you've got local cats that roam around, which draws me to an experience that we've had recently. Well, I say recently. We like wildlife, and we get a lot of hedgehogs.
We spend a lot of the time in the countryside, and we have a little bit of land ourselves.
And we have had, on occasions, a lot of hedgehogs, the occasional badger,
and deer.
Deer.
Foxes.
We had Hoppy, didn't we? The deer. And foxes that visited us. It came to my attention some years ago that we had a cat that was frequenting the garden, and often people can have cats that roam around. But he was stealing the hedgehog's dinner on a regular basis.
That sounds like a normal cat.
Yeah, he's a clever cat.
But it wasn't until we looked back on the footage of the trail cams.
Because for the listeners, I spend a lot of time in the forests, in the woods, and I tend to take my trail cams with me and set them up to catch footage of otters and deer and all badgers, etc., etc. And I sometimes set them up around our property, don't I?
Exactly.
And so we've picked up the deer, we've picked up the badgers, and this cat.
Which
although we didn't realise at the beginning,
didn't realise
but it kept popping up on the footage over a number of years.
It was actually the fact that we looked back on some old footage and I thought, hang on a second,
and you could spot
that cat has been visiting us for at least 7 years. I think.
Because of the pattern, the fur pattern on it. It's the same cat.
Definitely the same pattern. Although the curious thing was, some time ago, it was an entire tomcat.
Yeah.
It was an entire tomcat, and then about 18 months ago, we didn't see him for about 3 months.
Well, to be honest, you're the one who keeps track of cats around here. I
don't. Okay. So we didn't see him for about 3 months, and then he appeared January again last year, and he's now...
Something had changed, hadn't it?
Yes, he was now neutered and had a collar.
Had a collar as well.
So you assume that he...
But the collar had no
labelling on it. It just had a bell.
No address, no nothing.
No nothing. So
somebody's obviously therefore taken him in, had him neutered, and then let him loose again.
Exactly.
With the bell. Which, see, now for me, I wouldn't think that was necessarily an RSPCA job, because
not with the collar.
Not with the collar, because a collar with a bell is usually there to give birds an early warning that a cat's about. And of course, if a cat's got to survive on his own, if it's a stray, you wouldn't put a bell on it, would you?
Exactly.
So I think that it must have been...
There's a little bit of a mystery
there. So we've got that mystery. But anyway, this cat, as you say, is a stray.
He didn't really mix at all for many years. This has been a really...
You have your own population of cats.
Yes, I do.
I'm sure we'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
So this cat, he visited all the time. In fact, he lived... or appeared to live in
my bushcraft
shelter,
which I have down at the end of the property.
And you just keep an eye out for him, because it's not my cat. Obviously, it still isn't my cat, but one has been keeping an eye out.
So, what have you come to call this cat?
Well, I called him Smudge. I've no idea what he's actually called, and I don't actually know where he actually
lives. Or if
lives.
he even has an actual name.
You did put tag with your telephone number on his collar, didn't you?
I did indeed.
And that went on for months and months, and nobody had
ever responded.
Because it was a capsule that you had to unscrew.
It must be about 8 months.
And nobody's ever looked at it. So, okay, so you've got this wild cat, but you know that obviously this cat has had human interaction before, because he's gradually become more and more friendly.
Yes, definitely.
And it's basically almost like part of the family now, isn't it?
Almost.
Yeah.
Yes.
So cats that are, if you like, strays can also be quite happy interacting with humans.
I'll be interested to see what happens. This pussycat is not my cat, but when you
Well, you
see
say that he's been living in the house for what?
well, only at
6
night.
Months?
Well, no, only for a
He
little
comes
while.
and goes. But I mean, yeah, 6 months
At
ago, he wouldn't have
night-time.
even come into the house.
6 months ago,
But he's
he wouldn't.
chosen to come into the house. And
Because
so
it was bitterly cold
was
last
bitterly
year.
Bitterly cold
so he's come into the house and into the territory
of the other cats.
Of your
of
cats.
other cats.
Yes,
And in fact, the cats have been used to him being down at the bottom of the property.
I have indeed, and I have been very gentle in deliberately giving him a fluffy blanket that I let the smells from the other cats
Right, so you can
mingle
kind of,
with.
you can
so
do
they,
that. So get that
because
smell
if the
association.
smell association
Mhm.
is a way of letting cats gently, very gently get used to each other. And we haven't had any issues.
No, we haven't. So that's very interesting with this particular stray cat. But when if you're an individual listening to this and you're considering whether you should get a cat or not, how do you make that decision? What would you do in order to choose a cat? I suppose what I'm trying to say is you do hear of some of these things where people have gone to get a kitten and the kitten is too young to really have been separated from its mother. So what sort of advice would you give somebody who's looking to get a cat? How would they know that that cat is old enough? What sort of age would a kitten be to come away from its mum?
Well, I would imagine if it was a pedigree cat, it's probably going to be anywhere from 12 to 8 weeks old when it would be considered suitable to leave its parent.
Mm-hmm.
But with moggy cats,
Yep.
the scenario can be different. With a typical domestic cat, I would imagine it was going to be something like 8 weeks or 6 to 8 weeks when the kitten would leave its mother. However, if you go to feral cats, by the time a feral cat has got to about 4 weeks old, it would probably be really wild already.
Okay.
And sometimes you have people like the RSPCA or the Cats Protection League who do rescue little feral kittens, and they can very successfully become integrated when they've got lots of contact.
So would you recommend if somebody's looking to get a kitten that they should go, I mean, that's obviously if they want a pedigree kitten, they're going to go to a registered breeder, make sure that they're registered,
thoroughly
do all the checks
I would
on them.
really check.
I have heard that it's a good idea to even have a kitten examined by your vet, the vet that you're going to use, to make sure that it's okay once you've purchased
I
that
would
kitten.
say if you've bought a pedigree cat, which is probably going to cost a small fortune, then having it checked out by the vet would be a very sensible idea, because there's also lots of cat diseases and things like that that can be even brought into your own cat population if you have other cats, like feline leukemia and things like that.
Would I be right in saying that some of these pedigree cats are quite an extortionate price?
Oh, absolutely.
So
But
you're putting quite a big investment in having a cat like that.
And if you let that cat out, then it could get run over.
Yeah. So you've brought me now onto a question. What I was going to say was, if you're a cat owner, do you think that cats should be either 100% kept in the house and be a house cat, or should you be 100% whatever the cat is, let it out? Or are there parameters that, like you say, if it's a very expensive pedigree cat, that maybe you should have a mind to keep it in the house, or maybe have a special outside run for it? I mean, what are your feelings on cats?
I think my feelings have changed as I've got older, by having more knowledge and understanding of nutrition and things like that. I am not entirely sure that I think it's very fair having a single cat in a household and never letting it out. But at the same time, if you were in a household and you had a couple of cats, then they'd be friends and they could
keep each other company,
interact with each other. I don't think I'm not too keen on the idea of a cat
I suppose
being lonely.
that kind of applies to what environment you're actually based at. So we're kind of in rural, but if you're in a city, then
absolutely,
very dodgy if you're going to let it out.
I don't think I would risk letting it out.
I mean,
with not being unaccompanied. I think for example, if you don't let a cat out
Yeah.
at all, period,
Yeah.
then that cat may end up having a vitamin D deficiency because it's not getting sunlight like ourselves. So I'm not entirely sure that I feel that's a terribly fair thing to do. But if you had a run, well, that might be okay. The other thing I'd be interested in doing, maybe if we ever had another cat in the future, I would be quite interested in getting involved in training it more, because I think you could actually take cats out on leads quite successfully.
I've seen that seems to have become more popular in recent years. I mean, I do recall probably when I was a teenager, there was a chap that used to frequent our local town centre who used to come with I'm sure it was a ginger cat on his shoulder.
I do recall that same.
But more and more I've seen in recent years, more and more I've actually seen people with cats on leads, and we've even been to events where people have been camping. And
yes,
they brought their cats with them.
I know.
And let them
I'm
out.
Amazed.
Actually, let them out the tent.
I know.
But they run around and they do the thing.
And they come back.
They come back. You know, I would never have thought to do that.
It's quite astounding.
So, what do you do with your cats, Tina? How many cats have you got?
I've currently got 7 and a lodger.
7
and a lodger.
And do you let those out?
They all go out during the day, but they all come in at night without fail.
So your premise is, I'll let them out, but you make sure they come in at night.
Absolutely.
But you always hear of other people doing it the opposite way around, where they, don't forget to put the cat out. It's the last thing you do in the evening. Don't forget to put the cat out. And why do you think people have sort of got? Is that just a
learned behaviour?
Learned behaviour. Things chuck the cat out at night.
But lots of learned behaviour happens. I remember when we had Zak. And
I'm not a cat.
No. I know you're not a cat, but we had a couple.
I'm glad
you noticed.
We
had a couple of cats at the time, and I can remember the neighbours saying, "Oh, you've got to get rid of your cats now."
I do recall that. Soon as they found out that you were pregnant, that it was like, right, that's it. All your cats got to go now. Can't have a baby in the house with cats.
Why on earth not?
They'll smother it and things like that. And it's like, no. Well, we never had an issue like that, did we?
Never had an issue.
But coming back to letting the cats out, one of these things that comes up quite often is that people complain that domesticated cat populations destroy wild birds. The wild bird population. Is that true or is that not? I'm interested because I did a little bit of research on this, so I just wondered what your feedback was.
Well, in my experience, I would say most of our cats are not problematic to bird population, but they are problematic to mouse population.
You say that, most of them are quite fat. They can't really catch.
They're not that large. There's only 1 or 2 that are around.
Okay.
Okay, so just literally from the perspective...
And it's girl cats. They seem to be the ones. When have we ever had a male cat catch anything?
Goliath. He caught rabbits.
Yes.
All right. Goliath
he did bring a moorhen back once.
That was rather dramatic.
Oh, and a mole.
Okay, so maybe it's down to the cat, but the point is a lot of people do complain about that domesticated cats destroy the local wild bird populations, and and people will use that as an argument. And so I decided to do a little bit of research into this to see if that was the case. So I went straight to the RSPCB website. And for those that aren't in the UK, the RSPCB is the Royal Society for Protection of Birds in the UK. And this is interesting because it says on their website, despite the large number of birds killed by cats in gardens, there is no clear scientific evidence that such mortality is causing bird populations to decline. This may be surprising, but many millions of birds die naturally every year, mainly through starvation, disease, or other forms of predation. There is evidence that cats tend to take just the weak and sickly birds. It goes on to say, we also know that of all the millions of baby birds hatched each year, most will die before they reach breeding age. This is also quite natural, and each pair needs only to rear 2 young that survive to breeding age to replace themselves and maintain the population. It is likely that most birds killed by cats would have either died anyway from other causes before the next breeding season, so cats are unlikely to have any major impact on populations. If their predation was additional to these other causes of mortality, this might have a serious impact on bird populations. Those bird species which have undergone the most serious population declines in the UK, such as skylarks, tree sparrows and common buntings, rarely encounter cats. So cats cannot be causing their decline. Research shows that these declines are usually caused by habitat change or loss, particularly on farmland. And that's off of the RSPB's actual website.
That is interesting.
I just wanted to clear that up because I know people listening might think, oh, you let your cats out, local wild birds are going to suffer. But actually it doesn't seem to be the case.
I think that if you have got birds nesting in a daft place, if a cat discovers its nest, then it might be
if it's in
problematic.
a low bush or something like that. Yeah.
If a bird falls out of a nest, which happens,
if a bird falls out of the nest, then it's pretty inevitable that it's just not going to survive, whether a cat finds it or not.
Exactly. I can't really say in my experience we've had too much trouble, but I will say something else. So this is an observation.
Okay.
So I feel that if you keep your cats in longer.
Mm-hmm. So this goes back to your advice. So if you've
got
just got your kitten,
you've got your kitten.
You've got your kitten.
So if you live in a area that is very safe for cats and you want your cat to go out exploring and catch things and investigate and things like that, then let it out younger. But if you live in an urban area and you've got cars and things like that to deal with, my advice would be keep your cat in. Let's say you've got the cat in a summer or the spring of one year. I would suggest don't let it go out until about the April of the following year.
Right, so you kept it in the house for over a year.
Yeah, interact with it, play with it.
Well, of course.
I think that in my experience, so I've had quite a few cats, and for various reasons I've had different cats in for different lengths of time. And I've found that if I keep the cats in for a longer period of time, they don't wander so far away.
Right.
Whereas if you let a cat out when
Straight
it's younger,
away.
well, I wouldn't let it out straight away.
But
they're bolder.
But
it's a little bit like a child.
We've had visitors, haven't we? We've had a lot of young cats come onto our property.
Yes.
That aren't obviously ours. That
Yes.
neighbours have got cats.
Yes.
There was one particular ginger one that wasn't that long ago that it was probably, it was too young to be let out, really, wasn't it?
It was too young.
And that cat was everywhere. Yeah,
Yes.
we saw it walking down the road, a quarter of a mile away. We saw it, and unfortunately, it ended up getting hit by a car.
Exactly.
Because I'm going exploring.
Because they don't have a care in the world.
But if you keep it in, then
it's more cautious.
It's kind of what you're saying. It's attached itself to its home, and so therefore doesn't have the lust to roam that far away. It's kind of more reserved.
I don't think it's so much that. I think it's just more wary.
Okay.
You wouldn't let a 2-year-old child out the back door to come in when it fancied.
No, you'd keep an eye on it. That's right.
But you would let a teenager go out, and I think when you let younger cats out when they're younger, if you want it to be a more capable cat,
keep it in.
To
be safer
cat things
and to be safer,
then you let it out. But if you're in an environment where
it
needs to be safe,
if you were living on a farm and you want it to go out earlier in order to
learn
be a mouser,
yes.
to keep the mouse out there, out buildings and sheds,
you might let it out younger.
But if you're living in an urban environment, you want to do two things. You want to protect the cat and make sure that it doesn't roam very far. It's worth keeping it in for a minimum of a year.
Well, I would say 8 months to a year.
Okay.
It depends. I would say, as I say, if it was born, say, May, June time of 1 year, I wouldn't let it out till the April of the following year. And I know some people have disagreed with me with that, but
I've had years of
experience, and I think it depends on your environment.
Okay, so you've got your cat, you've got your kitten, it's in. Now, dogs, when they're puppies, because I'm a dog person, listeners, I love my dog, they tend to chew things. They have teeth in, they chew things, so they destroy things. Cats, renowned for two things in a house: scratching. I'm going to deal with scratching. Why do cats scratch? Because
they need to take the top of their claws off. It's like their grooming, their also marking.
I have seen what looks like an empty claw lying around once in a while.
Like a
so they shed their claws. Yeah, is that what you're saying? They shed the layers.
Yes.
And so they scratch to get that off.
Yes.
And
And also to mark.
okay, so if you've got a cat, what would your advice be to? Because you don't want the cats scratching your best furniture or something in your house. You understand that that's a natural thing that the cat will do. So
Especially if you live, it's an indoor cat and it doesn't have the opportunity of going out.
If it goes out, it'll generally,
Yes.
obviously, I would assume like any animal, it goes out and it will scratch and mark its territory.
Exactly.
Which will lead me to us the second thing I was going to bring up in a minute. But sticking with the scratching, so if you've got your cat in your house, what do you do in order to protect your furniture?
Okay, so cats will want to stretch up and scratch vertically and horizontally. So the
Oh, you mean when you say horizontal, is that when they're on the carpet and there's cats that's literally stretching their bodies out and scratching?
Yes, so that's horizontal
Scratching.
scratching. And they will also stretch up, so things like, your headboard or something like
Yeah,
that,
well,
or
people,
chair leg, something
a lot
like that.
of people's settee ends get shredded, don't they?
But I can give you a good tip with that.
Well, that's why what's what we want to know.
Okay, so cats will scratch more solid, firm objects. So if you have something loose on that prone area,
like a blanket.
It could be like a little simple fleece or something,
a throw
a throw-over or something like that. The cats won't scratch it because it's not a solid.
They can't get
thing.
they can't get their claws
it
into
moves.
it. It wants to flap about. Okay,
It
that's
moves.
great.
So what you could do instead is you could provide something deliberate that is a horizontal scratching area.
So would you suggest getting a scratching post?
You could have a scratching post, or maybe there's something at the side of your room that you could purchase that is a flat object that they can scratch up. So it's deliberately targeting an area that the cat can scratch on. But to stop it scratching, something loose, it won't scratch.
Silly question. Can you get any kind of like sprays or anything that would attract a cat to a certain area to scratch, or is that something?
I've never tried.
Never tried.
Well, you get those sprays
there's all
that
sorts
kind
of
of
things.
are supposedly stop the cats from weeing up things.
Well, that was going to be my next thing. So you've got your cat and you've given it a scratching area. And
Yes.
if it's not using that area but it still wants to attack your furniture, then make sure you put loose covers or something over that furniture.
Or a loose cover. It doesn't have to be covers.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's probably things like catnip spray and things like that.
If you've got guests coming, you can take all your loose covers off and everything looks perfect.
Absolutely.
And then chuck them all back on again.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's the scratching. Now, Zach, you just mentioned the second thing, spraying.
That's it.
Cats also can be known to spray to mark their territory.
How do you stop that?
How do you stop that? I'm very interested. Now, our cats go out.
They do.
And I have seen cats out spraying up trees, marking their territory. Well, I don't mind because it's outside. It's down in the orchard. It's fine. It's not a problem.
Exactly.
But I don't want that in the house.
No.
So do you think, again, that's something that is a benefit of letting the cat out to roam naturally? If it's going to do that, I'll take it out. Or is that something that a cat may well do in the house? Or do they do that in the house if they perhaps feel threatened or if they're stressed or something like that?
It is normally a behavioural issue.
Right.
That a cat would spray indoors. It could be an insecurity thing or something like that.
Because spraying is separate from urinating, isn't it?
Yes.
If you go into the toilet, they
Oh,
wee.
right, is it? I didn't know that.
It's marking its territory.
So that's why you see them lift the tail and do that
And
little
have a
bum
wibble.
wiggle and spray, yeah?
Right.
Whereas if they go to the toilet, they squat down and go to the toilet.
Huh.
So one's a proper I need a wee, and the other one is I'm gonna this is mine. This is mine. That's mine.
That's a Red Dwarf reference.
That's it.
Yes, exactly.
So if you've got a cat, is that something that you can deal with? I mean, if you've got, we're talking back to me. You've got your kitten. You've thought, right, I know this cat is going to grow up and start scratching things, so I've got my scratching post in. I've put my loose covers on things just to protect my favourite furniture.
I don't think you need to have loose covers per se.
No,
but just
yeah, I know what you're saying.
something
Tina.
loose.
Yeah, something loose
in those areas.
You've put a throw over on a few things, okay?
Yeah.
But what do you do about your cat if you're going to keep it in for a year?
Okay, so then we come on to neutering. Okay, so big thing for me. You are told all the time to have your cats neutered early. Now, I will say one thing about the boy cats. If you have your boy cats neutered early, you find that their facial development doesn't, their jowls don't widen out and
Right.
things. Whereas if you can hold off neutering your boy cat a little bit longer,
Yep.
so maybe about 10 months or something,
Uh-huh.
not the 5 months, not the 6 months, and not the 4 months.
Okay.
Just let it grow up a little bit. They should be about full grown when they're about a year. They will develop the facial features.
Okay.
So a lot of the time, if a cat's going to spray, it's because there is a reason for it.
Okay.
It could be that you've got lots of cats and there's some sort of conflict amongst cats somewhere or other.
Mm-hmm.
It could just be that a boy cat has reached natural maturity and it's kind of part of what
So
some boy
do you
cats
think
would do.
Do you need to get them neutered before they reach that stage, and that
Ideally.
prevents them from spraying?
Ideally, yes, but I think the neutering process, judging by our visitor,
Yep.
I have never seen him spray ever.
Yep.
And he is obviously a fully adult cat of I don't know how many years old.
Okay. So it could be the individual cat's own personality that might want to
Yes.
make it spray.
But you see, I think I'd like to go on to another subject
Okay, yeah,
slightly
carry
here,
on, carry on.
and that is this.
Yep.
A cat will spray usually in the same area. Why will it do that? Well, it will do that because it is very susceptible to the smell.
Mm-hmm.
So what you have to do, because we don't want obviously any cats spraying in our homes, you've got to get rid of that smell.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Oh, so what you're saying is, if a cat sprays, say, up the end of your settee or somewhere, or up a wall,
heaven forbid,
it's
yeah.
going to come back and go, I can smell that I've
and it
marked
will
my territory.
encourage it
And
to
it-
go back.
Very
Therefore
much,
having
very
a
much like a
problem.
tiger will go back to the same trees, the same rocks,
Exactly.
and mark its territory in exactly the
Exactly.
same places.
So I
Right,
have a
so-
major tip here.
Oh, well, okay.
Major tip.
But anybody's,
There are umpteen products that you can buy, and they will cost you a small fortune.
and this is to stop it spraying.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a very simple tip,
Okay, go for it.
and it won't cost you a fortune.
know
and
what's
I'm not
been
going to make you,
happening.
and I'm not going to make you pay to have this
Impart your knowledge.
impart
Yes.
my knowledge to you,
Okay,
because that's what I would like to do in this: is give some
some top
useful,
tips. Tina's top cat tips.
some useful
Cat
tips
tips.
to
Cat
people
tips.
who've got cats.
Caps.
Cats, even. Okay, so
So instead of cat nip, it's cat tips.
Yeah.
Cat tips. Tina's cat
Okay.
tips.
So first of all, if a cat has sprayed somewhere,
Okay.
you need to
Act fast.
Act fast as you can. Absorb any thing you don't want there.
Okay.
Okay.
So how would you just use paper
You
towels
know,
or something
a
like
good paper towel, something like that.
that? Okay.
But the smell is still there.
Can
Now,
you use cleaning machines or anything like that?
that is an option. So,
Okay.
for example, I would say that a steam cleaner
Okay.
I have found to be fantastic on a whole host of levels.
Okay.
If you have any issues. So, for example, that might be useful on carpets
Mhm.
or possibly furniture if that were to be a thing.
Okay.
It also, if you can have a hot steam cleaner, you want the temperature to be at least 40 degrees. Then you have a bonus feature of if there were any undesirable creatures lurking in your home.
We're talking fleas.
I'm talking those horrible,
Okay.
detestable
Oh, dear.
We'll,
things.
we'll come talk about fleas a bit later.
It
but-
would also,
So anything above 40
kill-
degrees will kill fleas.
it will kill fleas, flea eggs, and anything else.
What about carpet cleaner? Yeah, one of the extraction cleaners. Does that help? Yeah,
Yes.
If you're, we're talking about the spraying
Yeah.
at
So
the moment.
yeah. So coming back to the spraying, so you've got to get rid of the residue. You then need to really get rid of the residue.
So you need to get rid of that smell.
Yes, but I have a really good tip for
Okay,
that.
really good tip.
Okay. Now I must admit I've never tried this on carpet.
Okay. Guess
Have
we
you?
haven't had the need to.
Yeah, we haven't had a need to. But you've got to neutralise it. So urine is alkaline based.
Mm-hmm.
If you apply, top tip, make a mental note, should be in everybody's cupboard if it's just a jolly good thing. And that is white vinegar. Get yourself a household plant spray
Mm-hmm.
and put some white vinegar in it.
So is that neat, or do you mix it with water?
No,
or
just neat.
Neat white vinegar.
Neat
Yep.
white vinegar. And as I say, I've never had a need to try it on carpet or
But how does that actually smell itself? Because
Yeah,
I can imagine that being quite
like
a
fish and
strong
chips,
smell.
like fish and chips,
Okay.
but it does go away. But the point is, the
So-
acidity of the vinegar neutralises the alkalinity of the
Spray.
urine.
Yeah, okay. So you
So it
spray
neutralises
that.
it.
Do you spray that and leave it, or do you spray that and wipe it down?
You can do a bit of both, but I would leave it on there for a few minutes
And then clean it off.
and then clean it off. You
Okay.
could then obviously use your steam cleaner, or again, depending on the surface, let's say it's tiles or something like that, you might be able to use some hot water.
Okay.
But it neutralises it.
White vinegar is your top
It's
tip.
not top tip.
Okay.
White vinegar.
So do you think that would stop a cat returning to the same place, because it's going to, not only is the place clean and sterile, but do you think the cat picks up on that vinegary smell that maybe we humans, wouldn't?
I
Does
don't
it sort of
think.
go, oh, I don't like this.
I don't think it's so much that. I think it's the fact that it just completely neutralises the problem.
Okay, so if you had, because I've been in, I've got to be honest, over the years I've been in people's houses where you go, ooh, it's a bit catty in here, a bit catty in here. So
Well, that just might need a good hoover.
yeah, I know, but
But if it's cat urine, white vinegar.
white vinegar. Okay.
But if you were going to try it on anything like furniture or anything like else, which I cannot recommend because I have never tried it myself,
Okay.
but hard surfaces, chair leg, something like that.
I suppose if it's anything like carpet or anything, I don't know. Use the top tip of always do a test
Yes.
spot first. Move your settee out the way and test it under the settee.
Do a test first.
Yes, make sure the colour doesn't
I am not
come out.
recommending it on soft furnishings, only hard surfaces.
Hard surfaces. Okay.
So hard surfaces, floor, that sort of thing.
Okay, so you've got your cat. It's now been in. It's safe. You've decided it's not going to be a house cat. You're going to let your cat go out. You might put a cat flap in. You might just rely on opening and shutting the door. Your cat's going out. Thankfully, it's not spraying in the house. If you have any little accidents, we now know we can deal with that with the white vinegar, which is great. But it's bumping into other cats out there. Yeah? It's bumping into other cats out there. And it comes back in. And then you're sitting on the settee, stroking the pussycat, and you suddenly see a little black thing running on your leg.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. And you think, that's a flea. And you think, it's gone and picked up fleas from another cat somewhere. Because, it
would happen, wouldn't it?
It would happen. So you suddenly got a cat and you think, so what would your grooming routine be that would make sure not only are you grooming your cat for its own, well-being and socialising, but also to make sure that you don't end up having a flea issue. Because as I just say, you can have a cat that has absolutely zero fleas. There's no fleas in your house, but it goes out. There's always the potential it can bring fleas back into the house. So it'd be like, tell us about your grooming, and maybe within that you can explain to the listeners the kind of life cycle of fleas and how you can deal with that situation.
Okay, so there are different types of fleas that you get. So you do get cat flea, there are hedgehog fleas. Different animals have different types of fleas.
I believe that hedgehog fleas don't go on cats, though. Is that right? Or can they?
Well...
Yeah, people do say, oh, it's a hedgehog, it's going to be covered in fleas.
Well...
you've looked after hedgehogs.
I've looked after hedgehogs, and I haven't had any problem with that. I mean, when we've rescued baby hedgehogs before, we've had to sort of flea powder them. Yeah.
We keep them out.
But they don't come indoors. Well, yeah, that's another story for another day. But yeah, they don't come indoors.
On next year's podcast, hedgehogs.
Hedgehogs, yeah. Hedgehog care. So
the problem is the thing is, fleas. You could get a problem in the hot weather.
Yeah.
If you aren't thorough with your cleaning routine.
Okay, so let's start with the grooming. How often should you groom your cat? What sort of things should you... You can buy these like gloves that have got rubbery spikes on. You can buy your traditional flea combs. What do you suggest?
Well, there's lots of fancy things you can use. But you think, a lot of the time I think simplicity is efficiency's best friend. It's like my simple tip with vinegar.
Yep. So you just
it's not expensive.
So just what you're saying, incorporate just combing your cat as an everyday.
But a flea comb.
Okay, a flea comb.
Have a few around the house.
So if you've got one of those gloves that they kind of sell you because it's the latest Ronco product at Christmas.
Would you say that those products are a bit gimmicky?
Yeah,
or do they work?
The cat's probably going to enjoy being brushed
brush,
by it,
I'm sure.
but that's not actually going to groom properly a cat, you need to use a flea comb.
Well,
Whether it's got
brush.
fleas or not.
If you've got a long-haired cat, you
Yeah.
need to brush it every day.
Period. It'll get
Otherwise,
knotty
it'll get
otherwise.
knotted and matted.
Okay, so you got your long-haired cat, or you got your moggy, or your pedigree cat. Whatever you do, whether your cat's got fleas or not, are you recommending a flea comb anyway? Is the best type of grooming comb?
I would say that if you could avoid using lots of chemicals, it would be nice.
Okay. What about those gimmicky? Are they gimmick? I don't know. You tell us. What about those electric ones? Those flea zapping.
Well, we did.
combs?
I think we've actually tried them twice, and I wasn't very impressed on either occasion.
Okay, so you just
To be
reckon
honest,
a
just a
normal-
comb.
Okay.
I will elaborate.
Okay.
Right.
comb.
Okay.
This is what we need. These top tip number
tops.
2.
Tina's cat tips.
Okay, so
Cat tips.
first of all, yes, brush your cat and things like that. But
If
you should. I would suggest flea combing.
if you're going to
it,
give it a deep
thorough
grooming,
combing
use a
regularly.
flea comb.
And my top tip:
Yep.
get yourself some warm water, and once you have your bowl of warm water,
Yep.
put a squirt of washing up liquid in it. Fleas drown when the viscosity
Yep.
of the water is changed. They can't get out.
Okay, because it's
So not just water. So you have your bowl of water.
so if you think
Squirt
if
of
you
washing up
feel
liquid.
you've seen a flea on your
Yep.
cat,
Yep.
you're suddenly going, oh my god!
Yeah. Drown
Okay.
it.
You need to get the flea comb in there,
Yep.
and it will get caught on the comb, and
And then
immediately
Put it in the water.
straight in the water.
Yeah. And it will drown.
Okay,
Minimal effort.
maximum
Minimal fuss.
maximum outcome.
Maximum outcome.
Now, what is the life cycle of fleas? Because you've got a flea on your cat. You've spotted a flea. Has it had time to lay eggs? Do the eggs stay on the cat? What happens? Yeah, what have you got to think about? Because you've got to think of that sometimes people have flea infestations in their
So that's the house.
Yeah.
So
You don't want that happening, do you?
You have to be very thorough with a darn good hoover in your house, in the nooks and crannies. It has to be thorough.
Okay. So
I
you're
can't-
hoovering. Yep.
So that is your number one
So if you suspect your cat's brought fleas into the house
Hoover.
and you're dealing with the cat,
hoover
do you
regularly.
also need to say, okay, I think I've dealt with the cat, but it's going to go back outdoors again, which means it's going to meet whatever cat it's got the fleas from and bring them back in again.
Now
Do
I
I-
will be
Hoover the
simple.
cat.
Do you?
Well, actually, yeah.
You can do that. Well, one of our cats is deaf and loves the hoo.
Pardon?
So, yeah, very funny.
Right, let's be simple on this.
So I just want to be thorough for the people listening that if you suspect your animals
Can
or
I
got
just
fleas,
give you some simple
Okay.
tips here? Right.
Okay.
go for it.
Okay, so the life cycle of a flea
Yep.
is longer. Well, it takes a longer period of time in the winter time for a flea egg to come to maturity. In the summer, a flea could lay an egg,
Yep.
and it could come to maturity in 3 days.
3 days. And what they just lay one egg?
No, gazillions
Gazillions of eggs. So one
Right.
flea has the potential.
of probably laying, thousands of eggs every day.
So when that
But it's obviously the female flea, not the
Okay.
male flea.
But am I right in thinking that they have to have a blood meal? Yeah, so they have to bite the cat.
Yes.
Okay, because sometimes when you're grooming a cat, if you don't get any fleas, you can get those little red. You
That
can
would
get
be
red spots.
that would be droppings.
Okay, yeah, that's right. So if they get wet, because I've seen you before using a wipe where you've combed and then wiped the comb with a wet wipe,
Yes.
and if you get a mark come out on that you're saying that could be a flea dropping,
Yes.
which is basically dry blood.
Yes, basically.
Okay.
But
I've got to say, listeners, we do not have a flea problem in our house at all because Tina is excellent at making sure we don't get one.
You're the cat expert, Tina.
Yeah. So.
But that could be a telltale sign, couldn't it?
Yeah. Okay. So in the summer, let's be swift about this.
Swift about it.
A flea cycle could be 3 days.
3 days. That's very fast.
Right.
So what is the cycle? It's main flea, egg, then what comes after that? Another flea, or is there something after that?
Right. A flea gets on cat
Yep.
or dog or whichever animal it happens to be. It must meet up with another flea to make
Okay.
to mate,
Okay.
and those eggs can take 3 days to mature, grow, hatch,
And do
And start the cycle
mature.
again.
and start
they
cycling again.
hatch straight into a flea? That's what I'm trying to say.
They will do, yes.
Well, it's not going to hatch into.
But then it will
bird or
jump on
something.
an animal.
No. Because I'm correct me if I'm wrong. I thought it was egg, and then you have a larvae stage,
Yes.
and then a flea.
Well, only, yeah,
Okay.
minusculely.
So
Fine.
so 3 days.
Tiniest.
3 days is a very fast turnaround
Yes.
to go through those stages. You see.
And if memory serves me rightly, I think you could have between 500 and 5,000 eggs produced by one single female flea. So you do not want them.
No, we don't want them.
No.
But
You don't want them, listeners,
no.
either.
So my recommendation is in the summer specifically,
Mm-hmm.
you make sure you have a thorough hoovering twice a week.
Minimum.
Minimum.
Mhm.
Every day is even better. But or let's say a deep clean.
Deeply. Yeah. I mean, we would hoover because we have one of those electric hoovers for convenience, which are great for whizzing around the place every
Yes.
day,
Yeah.
whiz around. But they don't have enough suction power to do
You want
that
a
deep
good
clean,
suck.
do you?
Goodness.
Goodness me! I know it's Valentine's Day, Tina, but really,
That's the time of recording, by the way.
as of time of recording, yeah. So, but you want a more powerful hoover for
You
that
need a
deep
good
clean.
suck. Yes.
You know,
Anyway.
and moving
the
on.
EU stopped us being able to buy hoovers with a good capacity.
Okay, a good suction capacity.
Yeah. So you want a good suction capacity.
Okay.
You know, if you can whiz around the house often with some sort of hoover, that is good. But try and have a good
Nothing
hoover.
sucks like an Electrolux, as they used to say.
But have a good hoover twice a week, every 3 days.
And
And
there
then
are
in
other
the summer,
brands, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Hoover is just a generic
Right,
term we use in
vacuum
the UK.
then. Vacuum.
Yes, have a good old
Have a
deep,
good vacuum.
deep vacuum.
Twice a week.
minimum in the summertime.
Yeah.
We do that in the winter as well, if you like.
Yeah. But
Have you got any more tips?
I've got all sorts of tips.
Okay, so
Go for
Right,
it.
okay then. So, let's make no mistake here. If you have a flea problem, it's created in the house environment. So you've got to attack the house first,
Yeah.
as well as your cats. But let's say it is 40 degrees and it's the end of July,
okay,
and you have had
that's 40 degrees C.
a little bit of an explosion,
Mm-hmm.
and you go right. So you want to get rid of
I love
any
the sound
nasty
effects.
critters. You want to get rid of any nasty critters.
Go for it, go for it.
Okay, so if you're brave enough and confident enough that you could bath your cat,
This is where I was going to end up with the bathing. I'm glad we've got to the bathing.
a bath.
Can you bath a cat?
Yes, you can.
Right,
Okay, I'm confident.
With practice.
with practice.
Well-
Do all cats react in the same way? You've got 7 cats. Can you? Do they all? They're all
most
happy
of
with
them,
baths.
most of them have baths, but I think the thing is when a cat first goes in a bath that's never been in a bath before, it has a bit of a freak out.
So is it something you should introduce from an early age?
I would probably say so, but it's more about technique.
Okay.
So
Give us your technique.
right. So talk to your cat nicely, but like a mummy cat would hold a kitten, scruff of the neck.
Yep.
When your cat is not, I don't mean be mean, be gentle, but firm.
Yep.
If you hold a cat by the scruff of the neck, you should be able to give it a bath nice enough.
Okay. So what do? Do you prep the bath first?
I normally prep the bath first.
And how do you know the water is the right temperature for the cat?
I do an elbow test like I would if I was
a
putting a
baby.
baby in a bath.
It doesn't go.
Yeah. So do the elbow test. That's
Make
nice.
sure it's happy. Put the cold water in before you put the hot water in.
Okay. So you pick your cat up and you place
Hold,
it
place it in the bath.
by the not by the scruff of the neck. But you hold the cat.
Hold
and
the
gently put it in the bath.
Gently put it in the
Keep
bath.
hold of it
but keep hold of the cat by the scruff of the neck when you've never done this before.
Once it gets used to it,
You will not need to do
you
that.
won't need to do that.
Even you can just rest your hand on its neck.
Okay. So as you just said, they get used to it and you don't have to hold them.
You don't. They get used to it. Some of my cats like a bath. I mean, some of
Well,
them.
they actually look forward to having a bath.
I would say so. They're in
Which cats have yours?
Jonesy.
Jonesy. Oh well,
Big-
he's quite a big cat.
He's a big cat. He's a big cat,
But he likes
and
having a bath.
he likes having a bath.
Wow.
And Kira, she likes having
She's
a
a
bath.
big
I don't think
She's-
she has much of a choice.
She's a very big cat, and she likes a bath. But we have some of the more
Well,
agile cats. If you just literally rest your hand on the back of their neck, I think it's like a security thing.
But
for
that's
them.
an interesting one to share about Kira. Now, Kira is a big cat, and you did mention pedigree cats being hairy. I mean, I'm sure you can have quite hairy moggy cats, yeah? But you're not always bathing a cat because you suspect it might have fleas. Some of these cats actually can't groom themselves properly.
No, that's right. They need a bath. They actually need a bath
because they're dirty and they can get smelly.
Yes.
Let's be honest.
Absolutely.
So it is a thing you need to do.
With Kira, without any question,
she needs a bath.
She actually needs a bath.
And she has become used to it, would you say? Yeah. And
she's always really affectionate afterwards.
So have you ever been like, you could get this impression you see like YouTube videos of where a cat's fallen in the bath and they go, have you ever been scratched, bitten or anything from them? Or are they all...
No.
So you're introduce them young?
Well, not necessarily. I don't know. I think I just have this really good knack with cats in the bath.
So you got them calm and you wash them down. What about their eye? How do you stop them getting suds and things in their face?
Well, you're just careful. I mean,
Careful.
Right. So basically, routine for bathing. Once you
got the water in the bath. What level is the water for the cat? You don't want it sort of just its head sticking out of the water, do you, or what?
Well, I would say a fairly adequate amount of water would be useful.
Up to the tummy, halfway up the body.
Well, as high as you feel comfortable.
Okay.
For the cat, I mean, if it's not happy in the bath, then go for something shallower. But the thing is, there are two things here. One, okay, so if there are any nasty critters that you do not want to have, there's nothing like a bath.
Okay.
It will get rid of anything unpleasant. Routine. So if it's a critter bath that you're trying to deal with, what you want to do is get the cat wet, and then you want to make the cat's neck frothy, so that if any creatures are on the cat, they will try and escape by climbing up the cat to the head, and then they will all get...
You set a trap.
You've set a trap basically on the cat's neck.
What kind of shampoo do you recommend?
Obviously, the best shampoo is going to be to get only a cat shampoo that is specifically for cats.
Okay.
There are some quite nice ones you can get. Recently, I think I've had this nice coconutty one from Amazon that's quite nice.
Do you recommend any that have oatmeal in and things?
Actually, I had a bad experience with one with oatmeal in because it stained our bath.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Oh, don't want that, do you?
So
no, definitely not.
That was actually one, I think we happened to get it from TK Maxx some years ago, and it made a horrible stain all around the edge of the bath. So I tend to try and avoid oatmeal for that reason. However, another useful Tina's tip, if you really need to give your cat a bath and you do not have any cat shampoo, you can't get any cat shampoo for whatever reason, you need to bath the cat, a good emergency shampoo would be to use Johnson's baby shampoo.
A baby shampoo.
You have to use a product that is
very gentle.
Is very gentle and is not going to mess with the cat's kind of homeostasis and equilibrium.
Okay.
So you can't use human shampoo, you can't use human conditioner, nothing like that, but you can use baby shampoo as an emergency shampoo.
Okay.
I have found that it's quite good in that it gets quite frothy, which is quite a good thing from the point of view of cleaning.
Okay.
So that is quite handy.
Do you use any other things in the bath to help you with the process of bathing a cat?
Well, again, if you wanted to, you could use a cat comb of some sort, but you've got to be gentle. You could also use a shower. That can be quite good as well.
Okay, so if you've got a shower in your shower and bath, you can gently shower.
I would probably use one or t'other.
Okay, so making sure that you keep a mind of the temperature.
The temperature, of course.
At all times.
Yes.
Okay, and how do you go about if you bath the cat? How do you set about drying it?
A big towel.
Big towel.
And some of the cats really like being rubbed with a nice big towel.
And cuddled. Now,
yes.
Should you let the cat out or leave it in? How do because you
don't.
Well,
I would.
Does that depend on the season?
It might depend on the season, but I would usually not let the cat out while it's wet.
Okay.
Let it dry off
but if it's
by
a
the
beautiful
fireplace
sunny
or
day,
something.
by the fire.
So I suppose what you're saying is if you
get it as dry as possible.
If you're washing a cat maybe for the first time and you've been really gentle with it in the bath, you made a lot of fuss of it if you're drying it down, and then it can have a really nice experience.
Absolutely.
Afterwards, sitting on your lap or in the lounge or something, drying off, and then it's going to associate that with
a nice experience.
Being spoiled.
Yes.
And then be more prone to want to have a bath than to reject it. Oh, excellent. So bathing cats, that's super.
Any more tips?
I've got lots of tips.
Okay.
But you see, I would like to draw attention to a few useful things here. Now, obviously, if you have a poorly cat or an injured cat, the vet is the first port of call.
Yep.
But what happens if it's something a little bit more minor? There might be some things you can do yourself. So I'll draw your attention to a scenario we had some years ago. One of our lovely pussycats got an abscess, and it just didn't. We're having a bit of a problem trying to clear it up. So I took said cat to the vet. Very nice lady vet who saw me. She charged me about £15 for the most piddly pot of hibby scrub.
Say that again. What was that?
A small.
You don't have to say piddly pot.
A small tube of hibby scrub. She charged me £15.
Say that again. Hibby scrub. Is that a product?
Scrub.
Is it?
Yes, it's a product.
Okay,
so hibby scrub is a product that is used in hospitals, often for cleaning a wound before you go into the operating theatre.
Okay. Is this something that anybody can buy?
It is something anybody can buy, but there are different types of hibby scrub. So you can, from Amazon, good old Amazon,
or any other good
or any other good retailer, I dare say, you can buy yourself a tub of hibby scrub.
Okay.
And if you also buy yourself a little pump that goes in the top of it,
okay, like a hand
pump, yep.
Okay.
You will find that when you squeeze the top, you will get about one pump will give you about 5 millilitres of hibby scrub, which is a disinfecting soap.
Okay. So, do we use this neat or?
No, we don't use it neat.
Okay.
So, the advice I had from the vet at the time, she said, if I had used this product before seeing a vet at the first sign of this problem, then it probably would have cleared the problem up itself. This is what the vet said. This is from the vet. And she told me to use it in such a way that you added it to warm water and it's
quantity?
just pink. Well, her information was just pink.
Okay. Oh, so that
was the vet.
The water is just enough water to make it go just pink.
Just pink. Okay. Right. So that was the vet. So having had that experience, I then investigated this myself and looked into it more. You can buy a great big container of hibby scrub for probably about £5 or £6.
Yep.
You can use it on lots of animals. It's very important that you get the animal hibby scrub.
Yep.
For cats, you want to use a mix of 1 to 20. So to put that into layman's terms, that is basically a 5 millilitre teaspoon of hibby scrub with 100 millilitres of water, warm water, boiled water, even better. So if you had a cat that had a bit of a scrap, and it looks like it might have an abscess on the external outside of its body, if you bathe this mix, this water and hibby scrub mix, on said wound, maybe a couple of times a day, and you leave it on there, well, you leave it on there anyway, but if you wipe it, you want it to be on there for a few minutes and maybe then get the excess off.
Naturally let it dry out.
Naturally let it dry out. You will find that you will see this wound heal. I have done this 3 occasions. One on our resident lodger cat. He came in with a great big, in fact that's what made us kind of bring him under our wing a little bit.
He had an abscess under his chin.
He had an abscess under his chin, and you think, well, a responsible owner, assuming that he must have gone home somewhere, one assumed.
Well, I don't think he has. But anyway, you treated it.
So I treated it.
Of course he's got home. He lives with us now.
And it cleared up very quickly.
It cleared up very quickly.
So it's a brilliant.
Top tip, I have another one.
Okay.
And that is, if you have a little wound,
Yep.
Vaseline. Nothing in the Vaseline, just good old-fashioned Vaseline. So let's say your cat has got a little bit of sunburn on the tip of its ear or something like that.
Or has had a scrap and a bit of his ear's missing. Sometimes you get a little split in the ear when the cats have had a fight.
Yeah, I noticed that. I do notice that.
So in your cat's first aid kit, get yourself some hibby scrub
and some Vaseline.
And
I'll take it that's
just petroleum jelly.
Yeah, because some can come like coconut.
No,
just pure natural.
Yes, I'm not suggesting that you shouldn't go to the vet.
But don't use any other creams.
Small, minor first aid.
Okay, so no Savlons or anything like that.
Absolutely, under no circumstances ever you do not use Savlon or Dettol. No, 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 I can't say that enough.
Okay, well, on that fantastic advice, we're going to leave it there for the cats this time round.
Do you reckon you'd like to come back again and talk about cats some more?
I'm sure you've got plenty more to talk about.
I've got quite a little list here.
Okay.
But we don't want to bore everybody to tears.
I'm sure people will be very fascinated about
But if you'd like Tina's top tips, then you have to give me a few likes.
Yeah, if you've got any questions you'd like to ask Tina about cats, please get in contact. We'd love to know. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the podcast, and you know what time that is?
It can only mean one thing, and that is
Word of the Week. So, the word of the week this week was snotor.
Snotor.
So, what are your theories on what snotor means?
Well, as I say, an oar that's got stuck in its rollock. I've got a snotty oar.
That brings the question, what's a rollock?
You don't know what a rollock is?
No.
Well, that brings me on to word of the week.
Oh.
Rollock.
No.
Rollock. It's the U-shaped thing that you put. That's on the side of a rowing boat. You put your oars in the rollocks.
That's a weird name.
It's called a rollock.
Why would they call it that?
It's a rollock.
Tina, snotor.
I feel like I've heard that in connection with boating somewhere.
That was the beginning of the programme, though, wasn't it?
Well, no, I feel like I have. It hasn't got anything to do. You know, like if you're in a submarine and you've got that big posty thing coming out the top to sea.
You're talking about periscope.
That's the one.
The big posty thing.
That's
So has
brilliant.
it got something to do with the periscope?
It's not all periscope. It goes out of the snot.
All right, okay.
Oh, there you go. Out the
Allow me to clear this up.
Okay, what is a snottle? What is it?
First of all, you're both completely wrong.
Oh,
Funny
shucks.
that.
It is a word that simply means wise.
Wise.
Yeah.
Really?
Snotor.
Yeah.
This person is very snotor.
Yeah. It's an old word that means wise.
Okay.
I think if you called anybody that,
Well,
they would
kind of
kind of take it quite
prestigious,
Okay.
stuck up. I don't know.
Okay. Maybe it's my new pronoun. Call me snotor. I don't know. Everything's strange these days. Well done. If any of you listeners out there got what snotor means,
Yes, well done.
well done to you, because we certainly didn't have any clue.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe to this channel and comment below any suggestions of topics or activities you'd like to listen to in future episodes. You can find the Now We Know Show podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music and Apple Podcasts. Check out the Zak Wylde Productions social media pages on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, or visit the Zak Wylde Productions website at www.zakwyldeproductions.com. Please get in contact, we'd love to find out how you're listening to us. So get in touch in the comments and don't forget to check out Zak Wylde Productions on Patreon to become an official ZWP patron today.
That's a perfect goodbye from Buzz.
That's, meow! Goodbye from Zak.
And that's a roaring tiger tea goodbye from Tina.
Yay!
Hey.
Thanks for coming in, Tina. We love you.
Now me meow, now me meow, now me meow, meow! Now me meow, 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 meow.
Meow 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 meow